It's your move, Hungarian. I gave this sermon some years ago here. You may remember it as I go through it, but I think some of you have never heard it. The story, it's a story I can't let go of, that I've known for years. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Gracious Lord, you are caring for your people. You love them. You died for them. Sometimes it's just very hard for us to understand how deeply you care. It doesn't sink in easily, but Lord, may it do it today. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, I want to start with a prologue, an introduction with Deuteronomy 7 and verse 6. For you are a people holy to the Lord, your God. The Lord has chosen you above all the people on the face of the earth to be his people, his treasured possession. Do you notice the picture? It looks like a man kind of at the end of his rope, doesn't it? Perhaps he's a drunkard. He certainly feels that he's lost. Did you notice what the Lord said about him? Do we feel the same way when we see people in this condition? He's just as much a treasured possession as any of us here. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, there it is. I'm looking forward, not backward. The kingdom of heaven is a treasure hidden in the field. When a man found it, he hid it again. And then in his joy, he went and sold all that he had and bought the field. Let's go to verse 45. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant looking for fine pearls. We tend to look at these verses as Christ, the treasure hidden in the field, the pearl of great price. Turn it over. From Christ's point of view, you are the treasure hidden in the field. You are the pearl of great price. How do we know? Because of what he paid. Now, I'd like to start a story. It's your move, Hungarian. I'll have it in 3 parts as we study the 23rd Psalm together. Faranak, open the door. It's me, your friend. Open the door. Faranak goes to the door and he opens it just ajar to verify the voice that he has heard. Let me in. I've got some papers for you. They are important. The man comes in and he sits down and he says to Faranak, how would you like to be on a freedom train in 10 days, leaving Budapest and heading for Vienna? Faranak was very interested for the simple reason that he was a wanted man. The year is 1946. The Russians have taken over Hungary. He's a wanted man. Many of his friends have already been caught. What do I have to do? Well, there's two very important things you're going to have to do. You see these papers? They're about a man named Oscar Zinner. We think he's dead, but we're not sure. How would you like to be Oscar Zinner on a freedom train to Vienna? Yes. Well, this is what you have to do. You must study these papers very carefully. You must eat, sleep, breathe Oscar Zinner. He has to become you. Now, this paper is the same paper that the interrogators are going to use at the checkpoints between here and Vienna. Needless to say, they're going to look at this paper very carefully. You better know it. One slight wrong move, well, I don't need to say much more about that. However, one thing, after you have become Oscar Zinner, you must wait at the train station to see if Mr. Zinner speaks up. It would be extremely embarrassing if there was two Oscar Zinners. Fahrenheit takes the papers. My name is Oscar Zinner. I am a portrait painter. My father was an architect. He was born in Graz, Austria. Over and over and over, he reads those papers. It's the only thing he reads. Days pass. My name is Oscar Zinner. I am a portrait painter. He even knows the portraits Mr. Zinner painted, and he knows the value of each of the portraits. And then, the night before he's to get to the train, he goes to the bridge over the Danube River and tears the paper to shreds. And in the light, the street light, he watches the papers fall away. There's no going back. He's got to be Oscar Zinner in every detail. And now he's at the train station. Don't answer right away. Mr. Zinner just might be there. They start through the names. And he is going through the story in his mind. His nerves are on the greatest stretch possible. The strain is terrific. Why does this man have to have the name that begins with a Z? And then, Zinner. Oscar Zinner. He waits a moment. Zinner! The voice sounds pretty annoyed. Here I am. They take the people in the group. divide them into groups of 10, and move them into compartments onto the train. He's sitting close to the door of the compartment, but the train isn't moving. It gets a little uncomfortable when you're somebody that you're really not, and the train doesn't move. And then there's a hustle and a bustle and noise, and as he looks down the corridor, he sees 3 Russian officers get on the train. Now, there's already many Russian soldiers, but the 3 officers he didn't expect. They moved past his compartment and go into the next one. They push the people out in that compartment. I don't know what happened to them. They take over that compartment, and the train begins to move. My father is an architect. I have sold paintings for, I have sold paintings to. He's going over and over. The interrogator comes into the compartment, and he starts on the other side of Fahrenheit. He starts with a lady over there. He pulls out his papers, and he starts asking her questions. Then he moves on to another person. Finally, he's standing in front of the person next to Fahrenheit. My father is an architect. I have sold paintings for. My name is, sorry, I can't tell the story without some emotion. My name is. He can't think of it. The strain is so great. He knows everything. The price of the painting, where his father was born. He knows every detail except the name Oscar Zinner. It won't come to his mind. He's straining to get the name. The interrogator is now standing in front of him. Let's go to Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Let's go to the questions. The Lord is the shepherd of whom? He's my shepherd. What do I have that I shall not want? You see, I may have the Lord in all of his fullness. He is my shepherd. He's ever concerned with my eternal welfare. There's nothing that obstructs his view. Therefore, I lack nothing. I'm never in want of what really matters, my salvation. Let's confirm that with a couple of texts. Notice what Isaiah says in Isaiah 40, verse 11. He tends his flock like a shepherd. He gathers the lambs in his arms and carries them close to his heart. He gently leads those that have young. Next slide. And to know the love that surpasses the knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all of the fullness of God. He is my shepherd. He's interested in my eternal welfare. And he wants to make me filled with the fullness of God. I lack nothing. Psalms 23:2. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. Lord, when will I lie down in green pastures? Where? Where are the still waters? The green pastures and the still waters are now. They're not a tomorrow. They're a today. They're spread out before me in the present. Each day I may rest in his love, knowing always that his Spirit quenches my thirst. I faint not. Notice what Isaiah says to confirm this. I will lead the blind by the ways they have not known. Along unfamiliar paths I will guide them. I will turn the darkness into light. Before them make the rough places smooth. These are the things I will do, and I will not forsake them. This morning in Sabbath school, we talked about the firmness of the Word. And I ask a simple question: what's the difference between today and tomorrow? Absolutely nothing, except the Word says today is the Sabbath. We need to cling to the Word. It's the only thing we have. It's the only thing that's firm. Let's go to the next text. The path of the righteous is level. You, the upright one, make the way of the righteous smooth. We may not always feel that way. Is it possible that you and I don't always feel that way because we haven't looked at the Lord firmly? I have been in some tight places. I have built great pictures of problems, only to find out everything was fine. But just let him have his way. He took care of it. The green pastures, the still waters, they spread out before me today. Let's go back to Isaiah. He restoreth I meant Psalms. Thank you. Oh, Tim obeyed me. That was awful. Look at this. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Question: do you know where you're going? He says he's leading us in paths of righteousness. How complete is the restoration? He restores my soul. Hey, where does this trail take me? I want to go this way. This one's smoother. This one's steep. He wants me to go to the left. I don't understand. Where will this trail take me? I may walk the trail of life with all its twists and turns in perfect ease. It's easy to say and sometimes hard to understand, because he's traveled the same way. He gives me complete restoration. It's not a whitewash. He's restoring us completely, one moment at a time. I don't know about you, but sometimes at the end of a week, a month, a year, I look back at myself and feel like, boy, I don't see much change. It's not for us to notice. It's for him. Let's look at comparative text. Isaiah 61:4. They will rebuild the ancient ruins and restore the places long devastated. They will renew the ruined cities that have been devastated for generations. Do you feel devastated at times? Do you wish you were somebody that you're not? I mention that to my wife quite often. Sure, I'd like to be different than I am. She just smiles and puts up with me. But that's a fact I think we all tend to sense. I'd like to be somebody I'm not. Well, let me tell you, you can be. It will take some time. It doesn't happen overnight. He's going to make you something that you're not. He'll do it in His way and at His pace. Next slide. And they shall be of thee, shall build the old waste places. Thou shalt raise up the foundations of many generations. And thou shalt be called a repairer of the breach, the restorer of paths to dwell in. Back to Isaiah. I'm looking at Isaiah. Back to Psalms 23. Faranak sat there, not knowing what to do. My name is. It would not come. Suddenly, a face of one of the Russian officers appears in the room. And he says, does anyone here play chess? He seemed to be looking right at Faranak. Faranak hadn't played chess for over 10 years. But he wanted out of this position as fast as he could get. Here, I play chess. The interrogator is looking a little upset till he notices that the officer is a colonel. He hasn't got much to say. Faranak gets up, walks into the next compartment, and there sits another colonel and a Russian general. The general motions to him, have a seat. There's some sandwiches and some candy. Help yourself. And he pulls out the chessboard and starts setting up the pieces. Now, there's something that Faranak knows. If he doesn't play well, the general is going to get tired of him real quick, and he'll be back in the next compartment. But if he plays too well, a general doesn't like to lose. He's got to play the game. It's the game for his life. And so the game starts. Time seems to go like the wind. And they come to the second checkpoint. The interrogator comes to the door. This man has not been questioned. The Russian general gets up. walks over to the interrogator, puts his huge hand against his chest, and pushes him into the corridor, and comes back to the table. Then he says something that puts Fahrenheit very much on edge. It's your move, Hungarian. Hungarian? How does he know I'm Hungarian? He's beginning to worry that the general may know more than he says. But they play the game, and the general wins. But he's made it hard for him. The general says, I think we've got more time. Let's play another game. So they put the pieces out on the board again and begin playing. There's going to be one more checkpoint between him and freedom. And then he's starting to feel kind of comfortable. He finds himself ready to beat the general at the game. He's gotten confident. Yes, his beverage was alcoholic. That made him feel kind of warm and fuzzy. He's relaxed. And now they're at the last checkpoint. The Russian soldiers are getting off. You have the rifles over their shoulder, hand grenades hanging from their belt. Where they're going, not sure. But as they get off the train, a soldier notices Fahrenheit. He steps into the compartment. He points to Fahrenheit and says something in Russian. The general looks up and looks directly at Fahrenheit. It is not a smile. It is a face that's almost purple with anger. His hand comes up like he's going to pull a sword, and it comes over in an arc. And Fahrenheit winces, waiting for the blow. Psalms 23, verse 4. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The questions. How deep are the valleys, Lord? On what may I lean? The psalmist says, I will not fear for the arrow that flieth by day, nor the terror by night. For the pestilence that walketh at noonday, nor for the destruction that wasteth. The shadows lengthen for all of us as the years roll. May I lean on your staff in perfect trust, because you never change. I may not understand the way, but I may always trust, I may always persevere, and one day see you face to face, and I will be comfortable in your presence. Psalms 23, 5. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Next slide. What is the menu, Lord? You prepare a table for me in the presence of mine enemies. My cup runs over. What do I do with the spillage? In the presence of mine enemies. Lord, what is on the menu? Is it a feast of good things? Is it the fatted calf of my salvation in the world to come? No. It's in the presence of my enemies. In the very presence of evil, I may have the Lord himself. Many have turned from the meal he offers. But Lord, evermore, give me this bread. My cup runs over and spills upon me. Lord, not just my head, but my hands and my feet as well. Some additional text to look at. Jesus declared, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me will never go hungry, and whoever believes in me will never thirst. When he said that, the next verse, which is not up there, I didn't put in it. They said, Lord, evermore give us this bread. And then he explained the menu, and they walked away. That menu is still in front of us. And it's still our choice whether we accept the bread of life and the water of life, or if we find the menu downright uninteresting and we don't take it. Next slide. How good and pleasant it is when God's people live together in unity. It is like the precious oil on the beard, running down the beard. It's hard for me to read that one. Okay, running down Aaron's beard, down on the collar of his robe. It is the dew of Hermon, where falling on Mount Zion, for there the Lord bestows his blessing, even life forevermore. I find that text so interesting. Oil running down on Aaron's head, through his beard, on his collar, down on his body. What do I do with the spillage? What can you do with something so grand? It's a blessing of even life forevermore. Don't worry about the spillage. Wrap yourself up in it. Psalms 23:6. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. All his goodness, all of his mercy follows me all the days of my life. We must forever push the noise of the world away, that we hear the footsteps of a merciful God. Do I hear footsteps? What is my new address? I may behold them loud and clear. And when you come, may I be like you with only a change of address. Last text. See, I create new heavens and a new earth. The former things will not be remembered, nor will they come into mind. I've got to say one thing about being older in years now. I'm hoping it's going to come to your mind before it did mine. Just how worthless the world is. They're always out there trying to get you to be involved. Please buy this. You can't live without that. You'll never find those words in the Word of God. Be cautious. They're always wanting you to look at this world and not the next. In Revelation 21:5, he who is seated on the throne said, I'm making everything new. And then he said, write this down, for these words are trustworthy and they're true. The enemy wants to block our vision. He wants us not to think about who we are, a treasured possession. And he certainly doesn't want you to consider where you're going. He wants you in the now. The Lord wants you right now in the now too, but with him, not without him. The Russian general's hand came like an arc, and Fahrenheit virtually closed his eyes waiting for the blow. That did not come to Fahrenheit. It hit the interrogator so hard it threw him into the corridor out of the compartment. And the Russian general slammed the door so hard that the windows in the compartment rattled. Fahrenheit now felt very comfortable. He knew there would be no more interrogations, no more questions. They finished the game. Oh yes, the Russian general won. That's the way it had to be. As the train stopped in Vienna, the colonel, who understood German, listened to the general and then turned to Fahrenheit. He's really enjoyed playing chess with you. You have a good style. He'd like to meet with you again in Vienna. Where are you staying? Fahrenheit smiled and said, the main hotel downtown, Hotel Vienna. Good. What's your name? All the strength had drained from Fahrenheit. All he had was knowledge that he was free and he was comfortable. And he said, my name is Oscar Zinner.